next session today is going to be moderated by me. If you haven't met me yet, my name is Rachel McIntosh, and I am a podcast host and journalist in the crypto and Forex world. So as you know, the online trading business has been around for decades, with new technologies and developments continuing to disrupt businesses at every stage and at a staggering pace. This next panel is going to cover how these technologies will affect tomorrow's reality, including promising opportunities that we all have, as well as the challenges that we have to collectively face. I am so excited for this group of panelists, and I think we're going to have a great discussion. I'll let them introduce themselves in just a moment, but just quickly, I'll say their names. We have Daniela Egli. Can you raise your hand when I say your name? Thank you. Lilian Appenheimer, Manuel Heyden, Christoforos Theodoulou, great, Tom Higgins, and Mahmoud Nourani. Okay, let's welcome them all. Thank you. So I thought we'd begin just by getting a little bit more information about each of you. So let's start with you, Daniela, if you don't mind. We'll go down the line, and in about 30 seconds, 60 seconds, give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniela Egli, and I'm one of the executive directors and the head of compliance for Fxview. Fxview is a financial services company which is regulated by CySec here in Cyprus, and it's part of a larger group of companies called Fxview. We've been around since 2008, offering a range of services from clearing to brokerage and technology in the B2B and B2C space. I've been around in this industry for 13 years, so I hope I'll be sharing some insightful information with you today.
Thank you.
Hello.
My name is Lilian Appenheimer. I think we need some microphone assistance, technical difficulties. Here, you can borrow mine.
Can you hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah,
okay.
Perfect. Okay, so my name is Lilian Appenheimer. I'm the global director at Trading Central. We are a fintech company headquartered in Paris, and we are providing financial analytics, technical, fundamental, as well as AI-driven sentiment analytics on the financial market. We are around since roughly 20 years ago, and we deal with customers from the FX CFD industry as well as equity online brokers, and yeah, looking forward to the discussion today.
Hi everyone, my name is Manuel, so I'm the CEO and co-founder of nextmarkets. I've been in the fintech space now for 15 years, and with nextmarkets we primarily focusing on two pain points in the markets of retail investors. First is fully commission-free trading. We offer around 8,000 stocks commission-free. And the second point is that we offer a so-called expert-curated investing. That means that we provide our customers with more than a dozen trading coaches, and they come up with around 300 real-time analyses per month across 7 different asset classes. And you as a customer, you can simply swipe to follow those analyses, or you can say, I want to follow all the coaches with just one swipe.
Hello everybody, it's just so lovely to see everybody in person again. It's fantastic to be back here, so thank you for coming along. So I'm Tom Higgins, and I'm CEO and founder of Goldeye. I've been in the markets for decades, a bit like the industry as you said, but I've been in this particular market for about 20 years and founded Goldeye 13 years ago. So we're a fintech company, and we specialize in software for brokers and prime of primes to manage their liquidity, to manage their risk, business analytics. We have a whole suite of products in the crypto space called Crypto Switch, and then we have a whole load of new data products in the alternative data delivery space.
Hi everyone, my name's Mahmoud Nourani. I'm founder and CEO of a fintech company called Quantitative. We're based in London. We have been around for about 6 years. We basically analyze large amounts of data, apply machine learning and processing power to produce analytics and trading signals. Our core market is institutional, so it's my first kind of retail broker conference. Our clients include some of the world's larger asset managers and hedge funds. If I combine the AUM of our existing clients, it's around $2.5 trillion. And what we've been struck by is the fact that the institutional world and the retail world seem to be colliding. The fun fact I've sort of found about a year ago, speaking to somebody in the US, is since 2015, there are 50 million new online trading accounts in the US with at least $2,000 in them, which are also active. And this begs the question, who's going to help all these people make better trading decisions? We're probably at around 350 million trading accounts globally. I think we're moving to a very interesting world where everyone's going to be an investor, and I think that number's going to hit 1 billion in maybe 5 to 10 years.
Okay, that's really insightful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me on this panel. My name is Christoforos Theodoulou. I'm the head of global business and sales at MetaQuotes. At MetaQuotes, we specialize in financial trading software for brokers, banks, hedge funds, exchanges, and other financial institutions. We've been in this industry for 21 years. I'm working for MetaQuotes for about 8 years now, and my role is to help our sales teams globally to expand into new markets and also with the business development to explore new opportunities for the companies, while at the same time helping our clients to leverage our technologies and succeed in the long term with MetaTrader. Thank you.
Thank you all. So I'd like to start off our discussion with a bit of a lightning round. So we'll go and do the same kind of format, just go down the line. And my question for you all, in about 2 minutes or less, what was the most significant challenge that your company personally faced in the last 12 months? And we'll go backwards this time. So actually, we'll start with you, Christoforos. What was the most significant challenge that your company faced in the last 12 months?
From my perspective, we had a significant change over the last 12 months. Actually, this was at the beginning of 2021. We have totally changed our pricing policy structure that we have for all the new licenses of MetaTrader 5, so for all the new brokers that were starting a new business and they wanted the platform, we have removed the initial capital requirement that was needed to obtain their own MetaTrader license. So we have totally switched this to a subscription-based model, and we saw a huge demand, a huge uptrend. So the challenge for us now became on how to handle those clients and how to make them stay on the long run with us. So our challenge was to develop new technologies, new solutions, in order to help them to for an example, to onboard clients faster, to automate their operations, for an example, to be able to streamline their sales processes, to be able to analyze their market data, and other solutions. So they have an all-in-one solution to be able to stay as long as possible active and to succeed in this market.
Yes, thank you, Mahmoud.
Yes, well, lots of challenges to choose from. I guess a sort of more internal challenge for us over the last 12 months is managing growth. So, you know, our headcount's gone up 30-40% in 12 months. How do you make sure you hire the right people? The sort of pipeline of client inquiries exploded. We've got so many balls in the air. So as somebody running a company, sort of what keeps me up at night is just trying to figure out if our growth trajectory keeps going as it has been, how we continue to hire and cope with that. You know, obviously we sort of, if I rewind a bit further, 18 months, sort of went into February, March 2020, thinking, oh no. And, you know, as luck would have it, it's been, as far as the markets are concerned, an incredibly volatile and interesting time. And so that perversely helped us quite a bit. That I think when uncertainty is very high, people go and look for answers, look for analytics, look for tools to help them deal with and navigate uncertainty. So in a bizarre way, from a business perspective, it helped us.
Very interesting.
Well, I think anyone who's got young children will probably find homeschooling was probably the biggest challenge of anyone. I think it was absolutely, we've got an 8-year-old and I've got a few others, and it was sort of torture. It was very, very difficult. Lovely to see them.
You can do anything.
Yeah, I think so. My respect goes to teachers a lot. So I think the thing that we probably, it was very easy to transition to people at home, technically. You know, everything was in place. I think probably, I haven't found anyone who really had a problem with that unless they're not in a sort of technical-driven world. But actually getting people back in the office is a bit tricky because they don't really want to come back. And I found it, and my management team have found it very difficult to plan things strategically and to think about innovation remotely. I can't think innovatively when I'm staring at a screen with other people on Zoom. I just find it really, really hard. And we all found that we need to stand in a room together with a whiteboard and talk to each other. So from our side, the management's all gone back in, and we've got as many staff in as we can. So I found that really tricky. Saying that, we had, like you said, we had the best year we've ever had because everyone was sitting in front of a screen at home and thinking, what should we do? I know, we'll trade or we'll change things. There is a lot of change, though. People have really been thinking about what they're going to do with their businesses. Now they've started going back in the office. Lots and lots of change coming out, which is a brilliant opportunity for us.
So yeah, basically with nextmarkets we were heavily focusing on growth. So we doubled our headcount within the last 12 months. And at the same time, my brother is not only my brother, we've been working together for a long time, and he's the CTO of the company, and he worked also heavily on managing the tech. The tech stack. So with nextmarkets, we developed the whole tech stack by our own. So it was key that the back end is running very smoothly. All the apps are running smoothly, and so on. So yeah, it was kind of a hassle. I mean, when you double your headcount and you have to manage at the same time with all the things Tom mentioned, like homeschooling, home office. Yeah, it was not an easy time, but yeah, from a growth perspective, it was an amazing time on the other side. Yeah, and in addition, we performed our Series B financing round, $30 million. So it was kind of a side project. Yeah. So yeah, exciting times. Yeah.
Definitely, Lilian.
I think it's everything what you have mentioned here as well. On the one side, having your colleagues transitioning to home office and making sure that no one feels isolated in that sense, right? Keeping up the spirit. But at the same time, we were positively challenged with a lot of requests for more additional content, but not just content and educational material, but also like, you know, providing easy to process, interesting new ways of how to present education or analytics on the financial market to new investors, new traders. And so it kept us very busy also on our development departments. You know, we in the last 3 years actually, we were heavily focusing on sentiment analytics and how we can process that in a simple way to customers to make informed trade decision.
Yes, Daniela.
I think there's a common pattern that I see here, growth and hiring. So definitely one of our pain points has been hiring. We have a large industry of candidates here with quite skillful candidates in Cyprus. However, for the client-facing roles, we've seen a little bit of a challenge in order to hire people that can step away from a certain mindset of sales and are willing to take on a longer-term perspective for the business. We are at Fxview, we aim to provide a 5-star hotel type of service to our clients in terms of support. So that's focused on excellence, on providing added value, and really giving genuine support to the client. So the way we've managed this challenge was to hire more freshers and just training them and developing them into our culture and instilling our ethos and the values of our team.
Right, definitely. And I'm glad that you pointed out that growth is sort of one of these common themes that we've seen that's been, both a challenge and an opportunity, going back to the title of this session. But I'd like to pose this question to all of you. Listening to what your colleagues have had to say here on the stage, what are the trends that you're seeing developing in terms of how you do business and what's going to come in the future? So if you don't mind, Lilian, I'll address this initially at you, and please, anyone, feel free to jump in.
I think it provided a lot of opportunity. As sad and terrible the whole pandemic hit the world, it created so much more new business opportunities. And in that regard, we talked to customers who, formulated their 5 years planning ahead, and all of a sudden they reached in a very short period of time their goals from this 5-year plan, right? So they had to kind of look into reconfiguring how can we serve such a huge new client base, right, in operations and technical infrastructures, but also like onboarding, and then customers providing really content, right? And that was really like something what stood out in the last 12, 24 months.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think one of the mega trends is education. So we see a huge demand, especially in the last couple of months with Nextmarkets. We heavily focusing on that due to our expert curated approach. And I think when you look on retention rates and KPIs like customer lifetime value, you see that it's a huge impact when you offer education. Yeah? And at the same time, it's very interesting that your platform runs very solid, very robust. When you're growing like hell, then it's very important that your customers are not only learning what they're doing, but also that everything runs really smoothly. Yeah.
I would say a word I've heard, or a phrase I've heard, is question everything from everywhere. So many people are saying, I'm going to take a look now this is all over. They weren't really doing this during the last 12 months. Now they're saying, I'm going to look at everything I've got. I really need to think about my platforms. Am I paying too much? Because there are some people who are paying far too much for technology, and they just haven't really looked. They've just sat with it for years and years. Prices have come down across the board, and they're not really looking at that. So they're questioning their LPs. I mean, the questioning platforms, we've seen a lot of people switch from MT4 to MT5 finally now. I think the new pricing has helped that. So they've changed. But also LP changes, technology changes. They're all thinking about this now that they weren't before. They've sort of woken up. Now the snow's melted a bit. They can see what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'll say two things. In terms of how we do business, one internal thing is on the marketing side is we're embracing a lot of digital marketing techniques. Had a real eye-opening call with a West Coast digital marketing firm who can basically get through any firewall, find you any corporate email address. Like, I'm not even sure if it was legal, but it's quite remarkable.
Does it matter?
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's quite remarkable what you can do now and have personalization. Looks like, you're getting this email, over and over again from some guy, and you're developing a relationship with this person, and it's just a machine. So we're like, wow, that's very powerful. So there's a lot of that going on. Another thing I'll sort of borrow from a conversation I had here this morning to talk about the phrase you had of megatrends. I was speaking to one person at one of the booths and said, so what distinguishes your online brokerage platform from all the others? And he gave me a very direct answer. And he said, nothing really. We're all pretty much the same. We've got the same sort of stuff pretty much and same execution. Price is going to be the same. And this really feeds into my agenda sneakily, which is I think that analytics, education, actually delivering value to the end user that helps them make a better decision is one really important and growing way that online platforms can distinguish themselves. And it's interesting, but when you speak to a lot of brokers in Europe, they say that, well, our end users don't want to pay for content. Everything's free. We're used to everything for free. But when you go to the US, there's been a very big shift in the last 2 years. And you look at Substack, for example, which suddenly have 500,000 users paying $20 to $60 a month. And you look at all sorts of other business models. What you're finding in the US, and hate to say it, but I think they're maybe 2 to 3 years ahead of Europe. So where they are now, we're going that way, let's face it. You find in the US that pay-per-view is picking up. And if you can deliver value, so not something recycled or not yet another technical analysis chart, but something of genuine value, and you can provide instant gratification, people don't want to wait, then people are willing to pay. And that is, I think, a big trend that's coming our way.
Okay, I also want to add two things which my colleagues, my peers here have touched on. One of them is the onboarding, which is quite important. I usually get the question from brokers on how they can onboard clients fast or faster, for an example, in under 5 minutes. So usually what I'm telling them is that within our platform, the MetaTrader 5, there is a possibility to open your terminals, to make it open and downloadable for your clients, to be able to open a real account straight from the MetaTrader 5 trading terminal. And by doing this, you can do the full KYC checks. For an example, check their experience, their net worth, their background, allow them to upload their documents, proof of address, proof of IDs, and so on. And everything can be sent to the KYC providers, which we have already integrated. And in under 2 minutes, you can have a confirmation that the documents were approved, and you can onboard the client. But we have even taken this now to a step further, and we started the integration with payment providers to be able to complete the full transaction through the MetaTrader 5 to go to the payment provider and to be able to deposit and start trading immediately. Because when you have traders that they need to be onboarded immediately because they want to capture the market opportunity or they want to get into trading, it's a good idea to have this solution available for them. And another thing I want to add on another subject which my peer here has touched, it's about digital marketing. Digital marketing is something that I'm sure that all of you brokers, you are doing. And because we saw that many brokers, they're quite lost. They don't know where their spending goes, into which digital marketing channels, for an example, how much they're spending on social media, on different affiliate websites, on different introducing brokers, and so on. What we did, we have designed and we have launched from the ground up a marketing analytics engine that is called Finteza, and is integrated out of the box with MetaTrader 5 that allows you to track all your affiliates, your websites, where the leads that are coming from, and it gives you the full funnel of onboarding them, of downloading the MetaTrader, opening an account on MetaTrader, launching the MetaTrader 5 app, start trading, start depositing, start redepositing, and you get the full lifetime value from the beginning of the funnel until the end of the funnel. So this is some very crucial tools that are needed to be used from brokers in order to know exactly what's going on in their business and to succeed.
Yeah, so I think what I'm hearing from many of you is like two things. First is consumerization, that and that education is a huge part of that, and the other part of it is also this integration of artificial intelligence, not only on the side of what you're doing with trading and analytics and that sort of thing, but also when it comes to the consumer. And I love this story that you had, Mahmoud, about developing a relationship with somebody and then realizing that it's a robot. So for those of you who have platforms that have integrated, this kind of software into your systems, what have you seen in terms of how that's helped you grow your clients, to serve your clients? Have you encountered any problems? What has the experience been like?
Well, with nextmarkets, one thing we see is that it's very important to enrich your application with additional features. For instance, with following. So with nextmarkets, customers can follow our trading coaches either fully automatically or analysis by analysis. And in the end, this leads to a heavily reduction of loss-making account ratios. So, as you know, industry standard is around 75 to 80%. With nextmarkets, we are now at 50%. Means that it's additional value that we spend to our customers. So, in the moment when customers follow coaches, they make literally profits, yeah. But of course, we have self-directed traders on the platform doing or trading without education, and then you see that the win-loss ratio is not that good, yeah.
Yeah, Daniela.
Yeah, I was going to say that one of the trends we've noticed in the industry is automation, especially now during COVID times when everybody had to work from home. A lot of the processes had to be automated, and a lot of brokers had to take on this kind of systems in order to automate their processes. We've done the same, and some parts of the interaction with the clients are better to be automated, like the onboarding, as Christoforos was mentioning earlier. It's very important to get the client in as fast as possible to make it a seamless experience and get them trading as fast as possible. However, when it comes to customer support, that's definitely, it has to have a human touch. Otherwise, that trust relationship may be affected. So yeah, the systems actually help quite a lot, but again, it depends in which part of the process or the interaction with the client you're going to apply them to. And I think onboarding is one of the major ones that they help with.
I think that's really important, actually, because whilst we don't provide that, I decided to open an account with the broker just to see what the process was like, because being on the other side, I don't normally do that, because I don't trade, I don't know how to trade. So I opened an account, and the whole thing was pretty automated, actually, from KYC to everything else. But then it threw up an error on the screen at the end, and it said, well, I don't know what to do. So I had to ring them. That was where the human bit fell down. It was no one here, I must say, because there was no one there at the end of the phone to talk to me about this thing, and I was stuck with a half-open account that I'd funded and couldn't do anything with. So you're right, having that human bit to back it up is vital. Definitely.
It has to be a combination of the two. I think we can't take out the human touch out of this. I mean, it's a very sensitive industry. People want to be able to trust those that they work with. So definitely they want to know that there is a human at the other end, that they can always step in and help them with anything that they need.
Well, just sticking to this really interesting theme of automation and AI, what we do is we bring together lots of information about GDP growth, inflation, monetary policy expectations, it's all time series, it's all numbers. And we built a big cloud-based sort of market brain. And that has an API, and we have various products. But where it gets interesting is that we've been doing a lot of work on sort of notification and messaging platforms. So we're integrated with Slack, for example. So a client of ours might get a notification in Slack that says, here's a trading signal, or look at what's happened to gold, and this is why it's happened, and all the rest of it. And where this is going is, it's called a trade bot. We're also launching tomorrow on Symphony, which is the big institutional platform with 500,000 users on it. But there's a really fascinating firm in London we're working with, and they do a lot of NLP work. And they specialize in understanding the intent behind language. So if you write a sentence, their software, and you need to train this, but the more it's used, the better it understands what you're trying to do. And it turns that sentence into an API query. And that then gives you a response, which you wrap in a sentence. So I have in my pocket a prototype that I can simply type saying, what's the best US tech stock I should look at today? And it'll give me a text-based answer. Or I can say, if crude oil goes over $100, what do you think will happen to the ruble? Or what might the impact on British Petroleum be? And so that is where the world is headed. We're calling it the virtual analyst. And it doesn't have moods, doesn't take holidays, it's objective, it's analytical. It's kind of what I think of as Dr. Spock. If Dr. Spock was an analyst, that's what kind of the quant thing can do for you. It's not the answer, it's not like just follow it and you'll make lots of money, but it's an objective input, it's factual, it's evidence-based. And, we're sort of trying to be the antidote to a world where you're swamped by 5 million opinions from all sorts of talking heads. Net result is just confusion. Start off with some facts, use technology, use AI. That's where we see the world going.
I spoke to someone interesting a few months ago, and they developed a system that would listen to the morning notes from CEOs, and it didn't listen to the words they said because they were all scripted by someone else. It listened to how they said the words. So when Elon Musk says something about his numbers, unless it's 420 meaning something else, then how he says it, they can determine whether he really believes it or whether he's just saying it based on someone else. And that they would then produce signals that they would send to their hedge funds to buy and sell based on his intent on what he meant, not what he actually said.
Absolutely, I've heard of that. And it gets even scarier than that. You know, there's a lot of scary stuff going on. I mean, if you speak to some of the tech people in the US, they will tell you that the way you type on your phone, physically, they can get your age within 5 years. That's number one. They know what sort of device you're using, so they've got some idea of income. They know which location you're in, and increasingly, they can tell your mood by the amount of pressure you're putting on the keys. So they can tell your, you know, whether you're male or female, age within 5 years. So the amount of information that's being harvested now. You know, again, in Europe we have GDPR, but in the US I think it's sort of open season for that sort of analysis.
Definitely. So would you say that, you know, that the influx of artificial intelligence into the Forex industry is the single largest technological change that you've observed over the last 12 months? And if not, you know, what is the thing that has really changed the most?
I think it is definitely a big movement, you know, in the last 12 to 24 months, and it really helps the customer to provide a lot of information, condensed format at your fingertips, right? And there you see like trends, especially on the neo-broker side, but also for banks and other brokers to move towards like mobiles, where it's like has to be a more condensed format, you know, to provide content, and the other side is really like to provide not just like, you know, one asset class, like, you know, in the past when you were talking about just providing FX markets, but also moving towards like multi-asset offerings, especially the cryptocurrency part was like, you know, becoming increasingly important. So really diversify the portfolio, what you can offer to customers.
Yeah, and speaking of alternative assets, I'm really curious to see like how that has sort of, you know, entered this mix of new technology, increased trader base, all of these things, and now we also have more people interested in crypto and in all kinds of new assets. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, we've definitely seen this happening. So people don't just want to offer FX and then a few interesting indexes. They now want to offer other things. And the crypto world is sort of over here, and the FX CFD world is over here, but they are getting closer to each other. And one area that we like to focus on is bringing those two together with some of our products. That's definitely happening. But also, we're powering the distribution system behind the All-Stars Trader alternative asset. If you saw Mark speaking yesterday about that, where you can bet on an index on a footballer or a cricket player or a tennis player, and they're pricing those as a market maker, and it's a leveraged instrument. It's a completely new idea that, apart from Football Index, which was a retail-only product, this is the first market made something like this at all before, and it's got huge interest. I think we've got 12 people testing with that now, but before it's even live, it's really interesting, these other assets that are coming in together, and you bring it all into one platform with one margin account, and that's what people want to see.
Yeah, I just think it's so amazing that we can actually use artificial intelligence also to create new kinds of assets like this All-Star Trader thing. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, also just kind of to zoom out a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about how changes in the market over this last year have affected the business that you do. So lots of concerns about quantitative easing. Of course, that's kind of maybe a little bit less spoken about than when we had those massive stimulus checks coming out in the US. I know I got those. That was great. But so how has that affected the business that you've been doing as people have had perhaps more access to capital, more access to time? What were those adjustments like for all of you?
Yeah, what we see with nextmarkets is that retail investors go heavily into stocks, so exposure not only in stocks but obviously in cryptos as well, increased heavily on our platform. So yeah, I mean, literally every asset class is increasing. Yeah. So this is definitely a result of quantitative easing and the fear of private investors for inflation. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, Mahmoud.
No, I was just very much going to agree with that, but would also add that, you know, the shift towards what is often called passive investing from active investing has been going on for about 12 years.
Okay.
And we have seen roughly $1.5 trillion shift from active investor managed accounts, where you pay fees to some manager, wealth manager, to people doing it themselves. So this is a long-term secular trend. The first round of QE after the great financial crisis pushed it along a bit faster, and this kind of maximal QE plus maximal fiscal policy that we've had has given it another shove. But I think that trend has been there for a while already.
Okay. And, oh, sorry, yes, please.
I would like to add, for an example, if there is still out there FX brokers that they're still focusing just on FX. I know it was an amazing last 2 years due to the volatility, but if you want to succeed and get more market share, you need to start offering other asset classes, whether this is going to be stocks. It's supported in most of the platforms to offer cash equities. For an example, in MetaQuotes 5, we're supporting cash equities. I understand that you've seen now the record highs of the S&P 500, that it had the last month's record highs, and then a small retracements, and then again record highs. This has definitely driven the stock prices to new levels. But we understand that maybe it's difficult for traders to buy the whole share. So we have adapted our trading platform to be able to offer fractional shares to your clients, and we made also the connectivities with the broker dealers, liquidity providers, to be able to offer you this, to offer it to your clients. And I also heard mentioning about other digital assets and cryptos. I would like to add on this as well. There is a huge opportunity out there. If you are not offering this already and you want to explore new markets, it's a great opportunity to experiment with new markets, because everybody can be an investor. This is what we see in the market, and you need to diversify your offering. You need to experiment with new markets, with new financial instruments, and our product offering supports this. And we've seen thousands of financial instruments thrown into the markets, whether it's digital assets, whether it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, whether it's a meme crypto, for an example, Dogecoin, whether it's a meme of the meme crypto, for an example, Shiba coins, and all these kind of things. This is what many investors are looking into, and you have the opportunity to offer this with our trading technologies.
But I also think it is about, like, you know, on the one side, the excitement about new financial products, like, you know, cryptos, and to invest and see what this is about. But it's also about becoming more conscious about in what I'm investing. So we see also like a lot of trends going through ESG and looking into like what I'm actually investing in. And trends like, you know, thematic investment is something becoming very popular, really across all demographics, from the very younger age to the older generation.
If we can sort of talk some sort of dirty tech stuff here, so some low-level stuff now. We'll take it down a bit. There has been a move, and I'm seeing this now, you know, daily. People wanting to move to cloud technology for hosting rather than dedicated data centers, because they've always said, I have to be an LD4, I have to be an LD5, because that half a millisecond difference is so important to me. When they don't think, well, their client is 200 milliseconds away in another country. So they've thrown away a lot of flexibility that cloud gives you, which is enormous ability to scale up, scale down, more CPUs, more memory, however you want, just like that, for an irrelevant bit of time that in the scheme of things doesn't make any difference. If your entire business is all around the 1 millisecond, half millisecond end-to-end, it matters. But not many people are like that. And so cloud technology gives you so much more flexibility, you know, AWS, Azure, etc., to be able to scale and add and adjust to the demand very, very quickly. And that's a change that's happening.
Yeah, well, another topic that's really interesting. It's the Generation Z, so the young generation today, and they want to obviously buy shares, but they don't have sufficient money. So fractions of shares are very important and becoming more and more important on the Next Markets platform. So they want to buy Tesla for 50 euros, right? They don't have, I don't know where Tesla is today, but insane high, yeah. But they want to build up a portfolio with around 1,000 euros, yeah. And it's, I think it's personally, it's a new mega trend as well.
Absolutely. Daniela, did you have any thoughts in terms of technological changes?
Yeah, my fellow panelists pretty much said what I wanted to say as well. So I just wanted to say that I mean all the things we mentioned earlier as trends like focus on education. Our audience is becoming more and more educated. Information is at their fingertips easily with the help of AI and technology. Therefore, there's more demand and more pressure on brokers to expand beyond their CFD offering. So that's where I think the trend goes that more brokers will become multi-asset brokerage houses. Yeah.
Definitely. So we're getting close to the end, and we're going to invite you all to ask your questions. So start thinking about what you want to ask. But before we take questions from the audience, I'd like to kind of put a bow on this discussion, if you will. So thinking about our audience, you know, we've got a room full of brokers here and people who work in the industry. What is the one thing that you want them to pay attention to or know within, let's say, the next 6 to 12 months? That's it for a minute. Okay, go ahead.
I think education is definitely key in my point of view, because it has a huge impact on all your KPIs. Yeah. Retention, customer lifetime value, average account size. So I think it's something which is very important.
I would say stop building things you should buy, so you can use that resource that you would use building it to focus on something really key like AI or education, something that you could make a difference in. So don't build something you can buy off the shelf, because it doesn't give you any differential building it yourself. You can't resell it if you're a broker. So use that resource for something that really gives you an edge.
I agree. It's also like, you know, personalization, you know, of content and providing content, education, informing customers, providing them the tools to make an informed decision in the market, and also like in a very easy to process format. So innovation, fintech, fitness is something very important also in the next 6 to 12 months and forward.
Absolutely.
I would sort of refer to something Manuel said earlier that I thought was very interesting. If you want to get long-term value from your client base, you need to try and ultimately make sure that they are succeeding. And if they're all kind of, one stat I read was it takes 6 months for the average account balance to go from wherever it starts to zero. That's not a great business model. You really need to ensure that your clients succeed, and you want to be providing them with best-in-class tools, AI, education, and that differentiates you as well.
What I would like to say to you, if for an example your brokerage business was doing amazing the last, let's say, 24 months due to market conditions, this is not the reason to lie back and say, okay, everything is good. You always need to find new product offerings to offer to your clients. You need to enter new markets, experiment with new markets. This is the only way that you're going to be able to move forward. And while doing this, you're going to see which asset classes are going to work for you, which markets are going to be have the best return on investment on you, what other value-added product offerings you can have. And remember, with MetaTrader 5, we give you so much functionality so you can focus on what you know how to do best to bring business to your brokerage, to onboard your clients, and so on. And let the technology work for you. We give you the full-blown solution so you can serve your target market.
I think I could add, whatever binary options did, just do something else, not like that.
Great. Okay. We have just a couple minutes, so I can take a few questions from the audience. Bravest person goes first. Yes. Hey, there we go.
Adam Gazzoli from Beerbum Moex. Thanks for all your insightful comments, and it's a great panel. Just we've talked about today's challenges. Just for each of you, what's tomorrow's challenges or challenge?
Recruitment, I think. Trying to find talented people is really, really difficult. I mean, certainly in the UK, everybody is moving around, and if you get CVs, 99% of them are rubbish. It's so difficult getting really good talent. It's really hard work.
I think tech, it's very important to have a scalable solution, especially when it comes to growth in stock markets, because the FX market has a certain size, but obviously the stock market or the trading stocks for private investors is much larger. So you need to think completely different with regard to tech, either focusing on buying great technology from companies like Tom's, or scaling in the cloud. I think what he said previously, it's very important, that you build a scalable architecture.
I think it's also like serving a broad audience, from the younger generation, as Manuel just said before, is like, to offer them the possibility of fractional trading to an older generation who has more investment capital at hand, and to provide these different groups, the right tools. And I think that's a good challenge to have, but it will be definitely one.
I think that in such a competitive industry, one of the biggest challenges will be to remain relevant, and that we can do by just trying to offer the best-in-class service, as Mahmoud was saying earlier, and just really try to add as many value-added services as possible for the clients.
Definitely. Thank you to our audience, and a big round of applause. Thank you to our panelists.